Hi, this is Boston Jimmie here from the now PCA, Premium Cigar Association. We've gone through a rebranding this week, and I'm sitting here with Skip Martin from RoMa Craft. You all know Skip, so we didn't get too much introduction there. Skip, thank you for being here.
Of course, Jimmie.
Okay. So,
did you have a fun time at the party last night?
I had an amazing time at the party last night. The Lagavulin was incredible, and all I know is that at 1:30 in the morning, as I was leaving, my wife told me I was an inconsiderate drunk because she texted me and called me a couple of times, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but she has spa day today. That's why she's not here. So she's going to the spa and having a good time. And when I see her, hopefully
all is forgiven.
I'll know that. She knows me dearly.
What time did you get to the show for?
Right on time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
And I feel like we were probably maybe responsible for that.
You might have been very responsible for that. So, let me get into some good questions. I just sat through another interview you did, and I like the fact that we should talk about things that are not normally talked about. I just watched you light your cigar. You always use a Bic lighter?
Yeah, pretty much. In SLE, it's hard to get butane. So, in general, I like to relight my cigar with a torch lighter. I like to light it with a softener. So if I just kind of become accustomed to this, and I try not to let it go out. If I let it go out, I kind of have to search out a torch flame.
So we also were hearing and talking about your early life. So we talked about baseball. I know you're a baseball fan. I'm a baseball fan. Talk a little bit about your early childhood, how you grew up before cigars.
Yeah, my mother and my father were separated. I have 7 older sisters, and then I guess a little after they got separated, she realized that I was coming. Catholics, you keep going. She had a boyfriend for a couple of those years that I remember a lot of, things, but she was a victim of domestic violence. She got shot. Long story, but when I was 4. So then I went to live with my older sister, who had her own kind of issues, codependency and drug problems. So I probably went to 60 or 70 different schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. And some of the schools, same ones, but I moved around a lot. Most of them bad schools, We'd move in with some boyfriend. He'd start beating on her or whatever, and then we'd move out in the middle of the night. The sheriff would come. Then we'd go to the next place, and then she'd meet someone else, and we'd repeat the process. So I moved around a lot, and kind of basically just kind of focused on school and stuff to stay out of all the bullshit. So I got emancipated. I moved out when I was 14. I lived on my own. I graduated high school early. Went to play ball in college because I played American Legion ball. Okay. Sports was kind of one of those things I kind of kept out of trouble. So I played American Legion ball. Played for a couple of Division I schools. Then I went to the Navy. I was on a submarine in the Navy, and then started a company. Sold that company to Xerox after I got out of the Navy. Moved to Chicago, lost a little bit of money, decided I didn't want to do that. So then I got a corporate job with Dell Computer. I did that for about 15 years. Somewhere in there I started a cigar store. They got hit by a hurricane. And then I started a cigar brand, and then I opened a factory, and then, so now I'm here in Las Vegas.
There you go. Now you were born and raised in Texas, right?
Right.
All this time, this childhood is all this Texas area, the Dallas area?
Yeah, it's Dallas-Fort Worth, all over Dallas-Fort Worth.
So
every shitty part of Dallas-Fort Worth.
Oh my God.
I mean, hey, The worst part of Dallas-Fort Worth is better than the south part of Boston.
So for those that don't know, I mean, I'm Boston Jimmie. I grew up in New York City. Went to college in New York. Left New York at 21. Moved to Boston.
Oh, see, I thought you grew up in Boston.
No, I moved to I moved to Boston.
The name
for
threw
3
me off.
years, and I went in with a Yankee hat on. Long story. Came home with a Red Sox hat on. All my friends. I grew up in a Mets household, so it wasn't a problem with the family.
Yeah, we had this discussion the other day about the fans, the teams we used to follow.
Yeah. So I would come home, and all my Yankee fans, they just started making fun of me, calling me Boston Jimmie. Now I'm making fun of them because I'm actually making money on Boston Jimmie.
Exactly.
So it's actually a pretty cool story. You know, so I live and breathe that, and it's a moniker. And my wife always tells me.
What part of New York?
I grew up on Long Island. I grew up
Okay.
in a little village called New Hyde Park, which is right on the Queens border and Queens-Nassau border of Long Island.
Beastie Boys are from that area.
Yep. So are the Ramones. So is
Joey
Twisted
Ramone.
Sister.
Dee Snider.
Dee Snider. I used to hang out in a nightclub in Queens that was the home of Twisted Sister.
How old are you, Jim?
I'm gonna be 60 years old on November 8th.
So I'm 46. So if you lived in New York in the 70s, 80s, it was a whole different New York than it
New
is
York.
now.
I tell people that all the time. I watch these shows that features. You know what? I was just watching on the plane coming here, the French Connection,
Oh yeah.
and I look at that and I go, that's my New York.
Right.
That's what I grew up with. People who visit New York today are like, oh, what a beautiful place. I grew up where there was garbage stacked as high as this, almost to the second story.
Like Serpico, New York.
Yes, that's what I was in.
Or what was the Al Pacino movie
Serpico.
where he was a gay detective or
Oh,
what?
the gay detective. I don't know that one.
I remember that one. Or Dog Day Afternoon.
It was just horrible. I used to work at a little wine and cheese place down in Coney Island when I was in college. And what happened was I would take the train from Coney Island to Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. And I would sit on that train at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I would change my clothes. And I had a shopping bag that I put my work clothes in. I wore the same crappy clothes for 3 years on the train, never washed them. I smelled, and I would burp, belch, fart, and I would sit there like, and because you don't know who's coming on the damn train, right? And then I would get off and have to walk a mile down the street to get back to my fraternity house, which was off campus. And if there was a shadow, I had eyes in the back of my head. If I saw a shadow, I would just kind of meander across the street, right? And just kind of avoid anything. Never got mugged. Never had a problem.
Well, 3 of my 4 grandparents came over from Italy to New York, and they were all in like Four Corners or Brooklyn, and then later Bensonhurst.
Okay.
But my father's parents, they moved to Dallas-Fort Worth, so that's kind of where the majority of my sisters and I were raised.
So, go into some cigar talk. We were talking earlier about humidification, different types of humidification, how humidification affects cigars. One of the things I'm looking at doing is a little experiment. Because I live in Florida, extremely humid. My lounge in my garage, I have 18,000 BTU, split AC in there. So I have a very controlled environment when I do all my reviews, right? And I wanted to do that because being an engineer, I gotta have a controlled system, right? But I said, you know what? I'm gonna do an experiment, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Smoke the cigar in the lounge, write all the notes, take all the pictures, and then go out on my patio in the afternoon when it's 95 degrees and 96% humidity and smoke the same cigar. What do you think's gonna happen?
It depends on the kind of tobacco, because different kinds of tobacco have different levels of hygroscopicity. And for example, Apodaca absorbs and releases humidity really fast. But say broadleaf absorbs and releases humidity really slow. The best process is, and Saka could tell you about this instrument, but the best process is there's a tool that you can actually point into the cigar. You get the exact moisture content. It's not a humidity thing. Humidity is an ambient measure, but it's an actual moisture content, and that way you can kind of see, heavier tobaccos and lighter tobaccos, and you can start tracking where things smoke the best. Without having that tool, you really have to depend a lot on your senses. Does it smell correct? Does it feel correct? Does it have a little bit of give? Does it sound too dry? So you really have to depend on that. A lot of times, now I'll pull a cigar out of the humidor and I'll know that it's too humid, or very rarely is it too dry. But another thing is weight. That's another thing people don't really think about a lot. But in cigars, weight is a very good thing to judge quality, consistency, and humidity. So, like, this cigar should weigh about 18 grams coming out of the factory. But by the time it gets into the smoker's hand, it should probably weigh between 15 and 16 grams. But we won't let it out of the factory if it's more than 1 or 2 grams difference. But when you're picking up cigars all day long at the table, you can tell the difference between 1 or 2 grams. I mean, you can get really good at it. And a nickel is like 5 grams. So 1 gram is not a lot, but it's a lot in terms of the quality of the cigar.
So that's a good point. So when you are doing the quality control, number one, do you use a draw machine?
We do not.
So
we have one. We weigh them. So it's a manual process. If we have someone who's having an issue, like I go to the table, or Wilmer, our supervisor, goes to the table, and he picks up the cigars and he notices that there's an issue, then we will start draw testing some of the bunch, just to kind of point out, hey, this is where you're having a problem. And then because we only have 12 pairs, he'll sit that whole day or 2 days or 3 days just focusing on that guy. In a lot of factories, the guys will roll, like Harlan, my girlfriend's sister, she's worked at Padron for 10 years. She's rolled one size of cigar for 10 years. Same Parejo, same ring gauge for 10 years. In our factory, the people come from 10 or 12 years worth of experience at factories where they roll different things, where they graduate up. But, this pair may be rolling 50, ring gauge perfectos today and tomorrow, and then they may switch to 56 ring gauge box presses for the rest of the week. So we make 62 kinds of cigars with 12 pairs. So they have to be really versatile. That's also why it's important why we don't lose people. We have about 70 employees. We only have 7 or 8 that have ever worked for us that no longer work for us. So it's really important that we keep those people because of the versatility they have to have. But generally, like if someone's going from a larger ring gauge cigar to a smaller ring gauge cigars, the tendency is going to be to overpack the bunch. So you're looking for heavy cigars. And if you're going the other direction, you're looking for cigars that are underfilled, which mainly you can get from touch, but you can definitely get from the weight. Weight generally detects overfilled cigars. I mean, almost all of our cigars, if you pick them up, they're very, like, see, this cigar here I got from another manufacturer is very well rolled, but it has a little bit of give to it. Our cigars don't really have that much give to it.
Right.
Even, and this is a box press, but even our Parejas don't have much give. But when you cut it, it has a good draw. A lot of times, if you were to take, it's a good thing for consumers to do. If you were to take cigars from 5 different companies that are similar blends, that are similar sizes, and you weigh them, it's amazing how much different they are. Or if you open up a box of Cuban cigars, you might get cigars that are 5, 6, 7 grams difference in the same box. That's a huge problem. Wow, right? Because some of them are going to be have a draw problem, they're overfilled. Some of them are going to have open draw, they're underfilled. They're gonna have burn issues. So, you know, next time you buy a box of cigars, get one of those little kitchen scales and weigh every cigar in the box.
I'll check that out.
Weigh them, you know, today from the store. Put them in your humidor, and then weigh them a month from now.
See the difference.
And just see how that goes. It's pretty amazing what you can learn just from the weight of the cigar.
So, talk box press. So you got, when people talk about box press, okay, and we know that the box press was a Cuban thing originally. From what I understand, it was trying to get an extra cigar in the box. But box press is really a double press process, if I understand it right. You actually, once you roll the cigar, you go in the normal press, right? And then you transfer it to a box press. So it's like a double press.
Yeah, so box pressing is historically for lower quality cigars. So like in Europe, where we distribute a lot of cigars, they will not buy box press cigars because the connotation, at least for the old guys, is that they're low quality. Some people make box presses by having the mold itself be a certain square shape. So they'll actually bunch the underfill a bunch, put it into the actual press, and the press itself creates the shape. That's factories that do a lot of volume. If you're doing a really high volume box press, that's how it's done. What we do, and this is the more common place, is you underfill like a Parejo, and then you press the bunch like you normally would. You put a wrapper on it. You let them dry a little bit. You don't want them to dry all the way. You let them dry a little bit, and then what you do is you have a tray that has little dividers in it, and you put a cigar and you push the divider, you put another cigar until you get the tray really full, and then you put a piece of wood on top of it, and you actually put those things into another press in a dry room. So you leave it in there for about a day, and what happens is that it kind of assumes that soft press shape. The way you can tell the difference between the two generally is something that's pressed in the mold will keep the shape as you smoke it, no matter what. Something that's pressed the way I just described, as you smoke it and as it heats up and stuff, you'll see that it starts to become more round. Right. And especially like it just as it heats up, it'll loosen up and it'll start rounding out.
So, what is the importance of box press?
For me, the easiest way the most basic way to say it is, you can take a 56 ring gauge cigar, which is a large ring gauge, and it feels like a 52 in your mouth, right? So a box press 60, which we make in the Mastodon, is a lot more comfortable to smoke than Parejo 60. It also has a little bit more of an open draw because if it's being underfilled, once it opens up and starts becoming kind of heated up and unpressed, the draw is more open. And in the case of this one, the Neanderthal LH, the tobaccos are so heavy that the extra airflow increases the combustion rate, which increases the consumption rate, which gets you that power faster, right?
So it affects the flavor? Or just affects
it does. I think it affects the flavor because the airflow and the fact that it's a little bit underfilled to create the box press. I think that changes the dynamics inside of the cigar.
So, what is your favorite wrapper leaf to work with?
To work with, my favorite wrapper leaf is Ecuador, Connecticut, because it has a price, it has a great yield. You know exactly what it's going to cost. It's easy on the table to work with. It doesn't have to be really humid. It ages very quickly in terms of the drying room. Flavor-wise, I'm not the biggest fan of it. You know, you have to really blend around it. The whole purpose of it's like our Candelas. You're trying to make it not taste like Ecuador, Connecticut. So my favorite tobacco to smoke is probably Connecticut broadleaf or this San Andreas.
I love San Andreas.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. What is the hardest leaf to work with?
Cameroon is very hard to work with. Indonesian wrapper, which not very many people use in the hand roll business, is very hard to work with. Because again, they're very hydroscopic, very thin. There's a lot less forgiveness for the roller and where they select the cut. Autopodaca is very, very hard to work with. Most autopodacas in the market are sweated or whatever, steamed, cooked, whatever you want to call it, to get the color. It's very, very thin, so it's hard to work with.
The biggest challenge you've had in this industry since you started?
Honestly, the Achilles heel of this industry is poor retailers. If I'm being completely honest, getting tobacco is a challenge. Finding consistent good tobacco is a challenge. The fact that the consumer base is not as dynamic as it used to be 20 years ago in terms of growing and stuff. You're seeing pockets of people who are really passionate and dynamic, but you also see kind of the same 7 guys sitting in the lounge waiting to die, But the very, 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 very best retailers, they know that they're the best, and they try to pressure you for discounts and terms, and then the worst retailers are just impossible to deal with. They don't stock. Their stores are a mess. They don't have. So we really trying to kind of focus in the middle. We're trying to kind of focus on the high-touch retailers that have great relationships with people. They try to build educated cigar smokers. They're engaged with their stores directly, but they also have the experience to kind of move people in the right direction. So one of the reasons why we built our company to only make 1 million cigars is so we would only have to deal with about 200 or 300 of the 3,000 retailers. Because there's some really great retailers that really aren't a good fit for us just because they have a whole different system. And those retailers that do carry our stuff, it's because we have this critical mass of people who just have demanded it. It's not because the retailers want to sell our stuff. And then we're able to avoid a lot of retailers that just aren't good, ambassadors of our product.
So RoMa Craft is a company, and those that don't know RoMa Craft is a company founded by 2 people, you and your partner Mike.
Ro and Mom.
Right? Ro and Mom.
Right.
And what is the relationship? How is that? How do you split the responsibilities between? Because you're the face all the time. Everybody's like, they know Skip on, right. Skip on. But
there's really 3 people.
Okay.
So we have the factory, which is Nicosueño. It's 50-50 Esteban Diesla and me. And then we have RoMa, which is 50-50 Mike Rosales and me. And really, we all kind of 3 work like the legs on a stool. If you took one of them away, the whole thing wouldn't work, right? Esteban's has the experience, the connections, the ability to manage the process in Nicaragua. But he's not a business guy. He's a tobacco guy. Mike is a relationship building guy. He kind of managed the retail side. He managed our sales guys. He kind of keeps things on track at the headquarters. And I'm kind of in between the 2. I'm more focused on the business side, the brand development. I'm involved on the blending side, but also from the branding side, and then just the basic stuff like accounting and logistics, and supply chain and forecasting that Esteban and Mike don't have to worry about. So that's the way our company functions. Mike and I are 2 completely different people. We may go weeks without talking with each other. We may go months without seeing each other. But everything kind of just works. The train just comes in on time. So, it's much easier for me to leave the factory or to leave the headquarters for 2 months than it is for me to leave the factory for 2 weeks because the factory is just being Nicaragua. it'll go off the rails really quickly if I'm not there to kind of nudge the little details. But you know, we're a small team. We have Mike's wife, me, my daughter. My ex-wife used to work with us, but she left recently. We have Danny. Danny's wife works part-time with us, and then we just added Sean. John works with us, but his fiance from Rocketel is kind of in our office all the time, so she kind of works from there too. And then at the factory we have me and Esteban. My girlfriend works in the factory. Fiorella's mom, Harlan. Esteban, his wife, and his son work there. Floor's nephew and his brother work there. So we have husband-wife roller team, or two of them. One of them work together. The others work with other people. But they all work. And then we have brothers, sisters. With their other two sisters that work in the packaging. They're twins. So, you know, there's a lot of that kind of family dynamic. It's small and it works.
So your names of your cigars, ProMac, Aquitaine,
Right.
Neanderthal. What was the reason behind the names? What was your thinking behind those?
Well, they all have. So that all comes from me, because if it really was up to both of us, we would just have San Andreas Bacchus 56, right? Broadleaf Robusto, whatever, right? That's the way, you know, that's perfectly fine for me. That's the way we think about it in the factory. Like, you know, when we're in the factory, we never say the Neanderthal LH or whatever. You know, they can't even pronounce half the names. They just say the San Andreas 56 or whatever. But, you know, I like having this thing, if consumers are going to connect to it, that there's a story underneath it that they can understand. And that, you know, like if you look at our labels, it looks like maybe it's one label, but if you take off the outside label, which everybody says you can't do with our cigars, I never have a problem with it. You can see, you know, kind of the evolution of man, right? So there's like these, you know, an LH is just a name, but it's also Lord Humongous. It's lightweight, heavy. Like, it has all these other kind of connotations within the culture of people who follow our company. So, you know, that's kind of a cool thing. You know, the Wonderless, if you take the wrapper off, it has like GPS coordinates. So one of them's for the factory, one of them's for the office, and one of them's for our distributor, right? So, yeah. So you can smoke our cigars for years and then keep finding out little details, right? Which is kind of cool.
So you're one of these brands that has a cult following. You know, you got loyal fans, very loyal fans. And when you started this company, did you ever imagine that would happen?
Well, I mean, you know, I've been around this industry a long time, and I've liked companies because I like the personality of the person, or I like the person like Carlo Fuente or Christian Aroa. And I wanted to support that company because I wanted to support the people. And then there was companies where I just was really fascinated with the way that they did business. But at the end of the day, for us, what it's really about is we've always built our company around the product. The tobacco is the product. Secondarily, we're here to support the people that work for us, take really good care of them, and then do our business really efficiently so we can do all that and sell the cigar at a fair price. So I think as people have, especially experienced people, have floated through this industry, I mean, there's probably somebody you were goo gaga over 3 years ago who's out of business now.
Yeah.
Right? And there's probably 10 of those. And there's probably people that like their cigars, but you've kind of found that the people who run the company are not the nicest people in the world, right? What we've tried to do is just be consistent and be authentic and be, you know, you don't hear us making up a lot of stories. You'll never hear me talking about the notes of the cigar. You never really hear me talking about how we have some secret tobacco that nobody has, because that's not true. We just we select as good of a tobacco as we need, which we try to strive to stay in that top 20% of the quality range in terms of all the tobaccos we use. We're honest about what we use, and we're honest about how we engage with people. So, we build friendships. Like a party you came to last night. I've been to parties here where the guys who are throwing the party don't know the majority of the people that are there. We had 500 or 600 people there last night through the course of the night. I knew 96% of them. Hey man, how's the baby? You just had a baby. How the health thing you had last week, or oh, how's the new marriage going, or whatever. Hey, your store. I know you moved locations, and so we have relationships with people, and it's based on genuine, honest interactions, but it's also based on the product being honest and consistent and good and at fair price.
And the pricing is very fair on your cigars. In this world where you see these pricing on cigars have ratcheted up in the last 2 or 3 years, you've seen escalation to like $13, $14, $15 cigars. You have to scratch your head and go, why?
Well, there are genuinely some cigars out there that are worth $13 or $14. Our new Cameroon cigar is probably I think it's between $11 and $13, which is expensive for us. Our Neanderthals are between $9 and $12.
Yeah.
But our Cro-Magnon, Aquitaine, our Core line, the BA, the EC, that's like $6 to $9. And here's the thing. We make our own cigars, we sell our own cigars, we're very efficient. So we still make really good margins, even though our prices are not as high as other companies. But Saka's stuff is expensive. But at the same time, Saka has to pay overhead to the factory, has to pay overhead on the other side, and Saka's very particular about what he does in the factory. So that causes the product to be more expensive. There are a lot of derivative things out there. If I lined them up on a table, you wouldn't necessarily call them bad cigars, but you'd be like, yeah, they're okay. Like, when somebody goes, hey, how's that cigar? And you go, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good's not enough. And then you say, like, I always try to smoke a cigar and go, like the one we were talking about earlier, like, this is pretty good. This is really good, actually. And then when you tell me it's $17, I'm like, fuck that. I'm not paying $17. I might buy it once or twice, but I'm not going to buy them by the box.
No. And it's something where maybe a really special occasion you have, you might want to really celebrate that cigar. Because this is a celebratory industry.
If the cigar itself is special.
Right, if it's special.
There's some special $7 cigars I might celebrate with.
That's very, very true. Very true. Let's go back to your life again. So, what did you go to college for?
Originally, I studied political science, and then I switched to economics. I did really well in math, so that's where my background is. And then the economics went to some pretty heavy math. But I was also playing baseball. So when I went to the Navy, I studied nuclear engineering.
Fantastic.
And then when I got out of that, I did finance and kind of tie into the economics. So I got my MBA. So I actually got my bachelor's degree in reactor principles, believe it or not, which is mostly from the Navy matriculation or whatever. And then I got an MBA from Kellogg, which is focused on finance. And then when I went to my later job, I studied supply chain and logistics, which moved into mergers and acquisitions, which became a pretty management heavy thing. And now I'm studying tobacco. It's testosterone infused tobacco. Yeah. So now, really, I'm studying patience.
Ah, yes. As I get older, I remember when I turned 50 years old, my mantra at that point was, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Not giving a fuck is a stress, is a lowering stress activity.
Yes. but now I've gone through 10 years of my life that way, and I'll be 60 years old in November, and my new mantra is "C'est la vie."
Live, let live.
That's it. I can't. You know what? I can't change the things. I can't control things that go on around me. You know, I'm just gonna enjoy life. I might create a blog when I'm like 65 when I retire, and even before then, I hope I can retire in 3 years from my regular job and just do like Stogie breasts, like make it my focus, right? And 100%. But I'd start a blog, I said, and just call it As the Grass Grows. And I just put a little, camera on my lawn, let my dog run around, and put it on just
there's this whole thing on the internet. I don't know if you're aware of it. I forget the name of it, but it's like videos of just noises like crinkling plastic and just to relax you.
I actually during the day,
You could become a viral sensation, boss.
during the day at work, I do take a time around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, between 2 and 3 is my relax time, and I actually tune in the Soundscape channel on cable, which is just the sounds of running water and stuff, and just sit back, and that's my meditation.
I got you.
Just chill down. This is, my job, engineering job is very stressful at times, and I don't need the cigar sometimes, and just relax. So yeah, that's.
Well, I have a 3-year-old now. So I have a 25-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Yeah, the 3-year-old's a bucket of fun, I'm sure.
She's awesome, man.
Especially as we get older. My brother started very late with his child, and he's 3 years younger than me, and his daughter's 13. So it's a challenge.
Well, it's good talking to you, Jimmie.
It's been amazing.
All right, my man.
Thank you for the time.
Absolutely,
we
brother.
never get time to talk to each other.
Yeah, we need to. I had you on my top list of 2018.
Yeah.
My list of lists.
Yeah, yes you did.
And I discovered a few cigars from your list.
Did you?
Yeah, the Melody cigar.
Oh, the Melody cigars, man. Did you like that cigar?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
That's an amazing cigar. I mean, it was, to me, is a game changer for him, without a doubt. And it took off.